Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here, and it's time for another reaction request. If you have a video that you would like me to react to, check the description below. There's a link that will take you to a Google document with all the relevant information. So today, we're going to be looking at a channel that I haven't looked at in years now, but used to be one that I did fairly regularly. And yeah, that is Me and the Man at Arms series. Yeah, Man at Arms Reforged. And the weapon they're forging today is Trunks' sword from Dragon Ball Z. So this is cool. I was definitely a Dragon Ball Z fan growing up, and Trunks is a pretty cool character in that show. The sword, though, I mean, it's a cool sword. Like the cool factor's there, but the thing is with Dragon Ball Z. It's not really a show where weapons really get involved all that often. So, as cool as Trunks' sword was, from what I recall, it ended up being fairly useless. I don't think he kept using it that long. But it was kind of the case with any sort of, like, external weapon. Like, I mean, Goku's extending bow staff, that didn't last either. There weren't any fights with that after a certain point. Yeah, basically just ended up being a show about about punches and energy blasts. So physical weapons, not really a series for that. And yeah, I remember Trunks having a sword, of course, but I don't really have a strong image of what the sword itself looked like. But that said, this is still cool, and whatever these guys make, it's always interesting to see it. So I'm excited to see another one of these. Let's get it started and see how they do.
So, you want to see my sword, huh?
Remarkable craftsmanship.
The brave sword.
I'm Matt.
I'm Carrie.
We are the Stagmer Brothers of Baltimore Knife and Sword. We're going to be building some of your favorite weapons, and some weapons that you've never seen before.
This is Man at Arms Reforged.
Dragon Ball Z is one of the most popular anime.
So this introductory
and it's
bit was
the most
Frieza.
mainstream because it was on regular
Basically, the only time he
TV
used
for a
it.
long time, and most of us grew up watching it. Sam and I are both big fans. We debated back and forth for about a year who was going to get to build this one. We decided, let's just share it. So let's get right to the forging.
One of the nicest things about these larger hammers is that we can use large round stock. This is a far less expensive way to buy good material. In this case, 1045.
For the pommel on this sword, we're going to be turning it. We've got some free machining material. It's been laying around the shop for a while, so it's a little rusty on the outside. I'm going to put it up, take a powered pass across the surface to make it smooth and clean, and then I'm going to disconnect the auto feed and just freehand the entire shape.
Prior to beveling the edge, Sam finishes much of the form on the nacelle, creating the point and then cutting in the shoulders.
cool.
Even though we're going to be doing a lot of grinding on this sword, we want a little bit more width. So Sam is actually going to start the bevels with a hand hammer, and this will drive more width as the material goes to the outside.
Now that Sam's finished the forging on this blade, it's time to start grinding. I just wanted to point out a few distinct features on this that differ it from a normal Western sword. One is the point. Not only the profile, but the grind on it will be different, and the guard has a habaki. Really let you know that this was a Japanese artist that drew a Western style sword. It's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but it's going to be fun. Let's get at it. Alright, so I have my edge bevels roughed in at this point. I went ahead and ground it to a diamond cross section, which is very typical in a Western sword. But like I said before, the point of everything differs into a very Japanese style of grinding. But what I gotta do is now take that central line and make a diamond. So I'm gonna start my flat bevel from the point and push it all the way back. It's tricky, and it's very technical grinding, and it's gonna be a challenge.
Huh? Yeah, you gotta get the shape right. It's always just cool to see how they do this stuff.
Now that the rough grinding phase is complete, Sam's going to move on to heat treating our blade. In this case, we already had our welding forge up to temperature. It's a little shorter than our heat treating forge, but he's just going to carefully slide that blade in and out until he gets to even heat and then quench. After the quench, Sam removes the blade. He has a few seconds to straighten it. He's just going to lay into it with his foot, get it rough straight, and the temper will be able to get it nice and true.
No fancy machine for that, just foot power.
With the blade now to shape and the tang defined, Sam now knows his portions for the guard. He's going to use the excess 1045 that he cut off from the blade forging and forge that into his guard. He starts by using a tool under the power hammer to pinch some material. He'll then draw that out by hand and then forge the round ends that we need. Since Sam only rough forged this guard to shape, he's got to do a little truing on the sander. He starts on an 80 grit and works his way through.
Nice.
Sam's forged more 1045 blades than any of us in the shop, and he says after heat treating that these blades only need a torch temper. He uses a torch and carefully heats the central portion of the blade, which is the thickest and has the most mass. This will allow that heat to spread towards the edge, giving us a nice blue color in the center and a straw color towards the edge.
Okay.
I'm now ready to turn this blade into its final form.
We normally polish on progressively softer wheels, but on this we want everything to be super crisp. We want that bevel to really stick out and our lines to be nice and true.
After marking the guard, Sam now cuts the slot using the Gorton milling machine.
Cool. That should slot together well.
After watching a few episodes of some old school Dragon Ball, I noticed there was a habaki on the other side of the guard. We're going to make this out of steel because that's what it looks like in the show. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of steel, I'm going to bend them over slightly in the vise to match our cross section of the blade, and then we'll weld them solid later. After the guard's been sanded through the grits, the last thing we have to do before we can assemble is turn those nodules down on the ends just a little bit. Sam's going to use the torch and a wood hammer and bend them on a slight angle.
Alright, I got my edges completely polished all the way through the grits. I'm really happy with it. This central bevel is so sharp it could cut you, but it's not even in its final form yet. Have to refine that tip, and then we'll be ready to assemble. Alright, we got our habaki welded onto the blade, welded the seams here. Not only does that give us our nice look, but it gives us nice clean shoulders for the guard to sit. So now my goal is to go to the 80 grit. I'm going to clean the weld spots, and then I got to make the central ridge on the habaki match the ridge on the blade.
Okay.
For the handle core on the Z sword, I'm going to be using some oak. Because it's going to get wrapped in leather, I don't need to try and make it in 2 halves and make the seam pretty. So I'm going to mill only 1/2 of the wood to the dimension of the slot. Because the tang is tapered and it's really hard to mill a taper, I'm going to mill it in a stepped hole. I'm going to use a wide milling cutter the dimension of the tang up front. And then as I get down to this line here, I'm going to switch out the cutters to a smaller one. Get super glued roughly together to be shaped, and then it'll be finally epoxied onto the tang and leather wrapped by Carrie.
After milling his tang recess in his 2 pieces of wood, Sam clamps them together and begins shaping them on the sander. This is a pretty simple handle. We're going to then cover it with leather later, but it still has to have the right form and the right shape.
That's definitely shaping up. Nice.
I'm now onto the final step. This is the same kind of leather wrapping I do every day on our regular swords. I'll be able to work right through this quickly.
You guys have been asking for us to do some more realistic, historical-based swords for a long time. This one is not only a Western sword, it has a lot of Japanese characteristics, so it was a whole lot of fun to make, had a few challenges, and I'm really happy with it.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Oh, wow. I mean, that's cool. The handle looks nice. And the whole thing looks nice. That came together well. Nice. Very nice. I have a watermelon test. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that thing's sharp. Oh. Well, that's,
Click here to subscribe, or click here to watch more episodes. Thanks for watching Man-at-Arms Reforged. We need to know what you want the guys to build, so tell us in the comments below what weapons you want to see next.
well, there we go. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Definitely glad to revisit this channel. Their work is always interesting. And that one turned out quite nicely. Anyway, not really too much else to say. I hope you guys liked the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.